I'm trying to get to the bottom of a couple things. Karen Bass came out with a big press conference where she said, we're gonna waive all permit fees for Pacific Palisades fire victims. But we've submitted plans and we found out that those permit fees were not waived.
America, we just caught Governor Gavin Newsom and LA Mayor Karen Bass in a massive lie about wildfire recovery. They promised expedited permits and waived fees for fire victims. But a contractor just walked into the city's LA one-stop rebuilding center with cameras rolling and exposed the truth. Building permits are not being issued, fees are not being waived, and they can't even tell victims how long it's going to take to get approval. Meanwhile, fire victims are running out of money trying to rebuild while fighting insurance companies that are lowballing them hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So we're gonna come here right to the source and we're gonna find out what's going on with that publicity stunt she pulled. And we're also gonna try and find out exactly how many permits have been issued.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is California Democrat leadership in a nutshell. Make big promises on camera, then leave victims to suffer through bureaucratic hell while their lives fall apart. 6 months after the fires, and they're still lying to people who lost everything. Let me break down this bombshell footage that exposed Newsom and Bass as complete liars. A contractor walked into the city of LA one-stop rebuilding center, a place that's supposed to be handing out Pacific Palisades fire permits, and asked direct questions about the rebuild process. Here's what he found. Building permits are not being issued despite months of promises. When asked if any permits are being issued, the official said very, very few, which means essentially none. They literally don't know how long it's going to take to get a permit. They have no timeline. They have no process. They have no answers.
People have to see stuff getting done.
As of right now, how long is it taking for, once a plan reaches you guys for it to be approved? Do you know what we can expect for the fire rebuilds?
Approved is kind of out of our hands.
But it gets worse. Not only are permit fees not being waived as promised, this contractor says he had to pay for fees on properties that were already destroyed. The city is literally charging people fees for permits on homes that burned down, and they don't even know if refunds are going to be issued.
And for those of you who have paid permit fees, myself being one of those, you may or may not get a refund. So this was nothing more than a publicity stunt, and we can expect nothing else from Karen Bass.
This is all on camera, directly at the center that's supposed to be helping fire victims. Both Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass lied to people of California about expediting permits and waived fees. The victims are being lied to about permits. They're also getting screwed by insurance companies. The Lopez family, whose rebuild became a symbol of hope in the Palisades, is now facing financial ruin because State Farm is offering them $400,000 less than their policy limit.
Lopez says despite the total loss of his home, State Farm is offering about $400,000 less than their policy limit.
You pay your bills for years and years. Even said that I'd rather pay a little bit more to have a better coverage than to be left out like this.
Think about that. This family paid their insurance premium for years, specifically chose higher coverage to avoid this exact situation. And State Farm is still trying to cheat them out of $400,000. Lopez said, you pay your bills for years and years. He even said, I'd rather pay a little bit more to have a little bit better coverage than to be left out like this. The Lopez family moved forward with their rebuild using their own money because they believed the insurance company would follow through. Now they're 75% done with construction and running out of money while State Farm plays games with their claims.
But is this going to hurt our family?
This is what happens when you trust California promises and insurance company guarantees. Now California is pretending to care by launching an investigation into State Farm's handling of fire claims. The California Department of Insurance says they've collected over 400 firsthand accounts of systematic delays and denials and underpayments by State Farm.
Thursday, the California Department of Insurance launched an investigation into State Farm's handling of the Eaton and Palisades fire claims. The state will do a market conduct examination in response to customer complaints.
We have collected over 400 firsthand accounts of systemic delays and denials and underpayments by State Farm.
But here's the kicker. This investigation will take several months, according to California Insurance Commission. Several months. People are running out of money now. But California's solution is a month-long investigation that won't help anybody rebuild their home. Joy Chin from the Eaton Fire Survivor Network is pushing for the state to expedite investigation and release findings quickly. She wants confirmation that State Farm has paid all that it owes before the commissioner considers any further rate hikes. Meanwhile, State Farm issued a typical corporate non-statement saying a fair review will find thousands of State Farm customers are being helped. And they are actively working with each customer. That's corporate speak for we're doing nothing wrong while we screw over fire victims. 6 months after the fires, only about 1,000 rebuilding permit applications have been filed across all Los Angeles. That is absolutely pathetic considering over 16,000 structures were destroyed. The bureaucratic nightmare is so bad that most people haven't even bothered trying to navigate the system.
Los Angeles is still slowly rebuilding 6 months after the deadly wildfires burned through there. But only about 1,000 rebuilding permit applications have been filed so far.
Some victims are turning to organizations like Habitat for Humanity, which is trying to streamline the process with pre-approved home designs. They developed a pre-approved process to skip and fast forward through as much of the permitting process and plan check process to obtain building permits as quickly as possible. But even this workaround shows how broken California's system is. Private charities have to create alternative processes because the government can't do its basic job of issuing building permits to fire victims.
We developed this pre-approval process to permit homes without a specific lot in place, and essentially skip and fast forward through as much of the permitting process and plan check process to obtain a building permit as quickly as possible.
The Espinina family, whose childhood home of 29 years burned in the Eaton fire, broke down in tears when they found out Habitat for Humanity could help them. They said it's definitely great news and giving them hope in the chaos. The situation is even worse in Altadena, where victims are facing a brutal choice: rebuild or sell what's left of their remaining lots. The high prices and slow pace of getting permits is forcing people to abandon their dreams of rebuilding,
making it more difficult, the high price and slow pace of getting permits.
Charles Bryan, who lived on his Altadena land for 23 years, described the process as cumbersome. And despite being in this emergency, these permits and plan checks should be eliminated, but the county has not done that. Altadena fire victims want the county to waive fees just like the city of Los Angeles supposedly did to the Palisade victims. But as we've seen, even LA's fees waivers are lies. They're still charging people for permits on destroyed properties.
Altadena fire victims want the county to waive fees just like the city of Los Angeles did for homeowners in the Palisades fire zone. But getting a permit has been slow. So far, just 22 out of more than 700 applications have been issued.
The numbers are devastating. Just 22 permits issued out of more than 700 applications in Altadena. That's a 3% approval rate 6 months after the fires. Meanwhile, 145 lots have already sold, with dozens more listed as people are giving up on rebuilding. America, this story exposes everything wrong with California's Democrat leadership. Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass made big promises to expedite permits and waived fees, then left fire victims to navigate a bureaucratic nightmare while their savings run out. 6 months after the fires, only 1,000 permit applications have been filed for 16,000 destroyed structures. In Altadena, only 22 permits have been issued out of 700 applications. That's not a system. That's a systematic failure designed to crush people's spirits. Meanwhile, insurance companies like State Farm are lowballing victims by hundreds of thousands of dollars, while California launches investigations that will take months to complete. The Lopez family is 75% done with their rebuild and running out of money because they trusted the system. The contractor who exposed the permit lies at One Stop Rebuilding Center did more journalism in 5 minutes than California's media has done in 6 months. Building permits aren't being issued, fees aren't being waived, and officials have no idea when anything is going to get approved. This is what happens when you elect Democrats who care more about virtue signaling than actually helping people. They hold press conferences promising the world, then leave victims out to suffer through bureaucratic hell while their lives fall apart. I'll keep exposing California's lies while fire victims continue to fight for basic government services that they were promised. And remember, this is what Democrat governance looks like when the cameras stop rolling. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.